They never wanted or expected us to make money in film. $20,000 spent and niggas is making $1 million. What? They're like, we just spent $10 million and we didn't even get 5 back. You understand? They're like, how did these niggas do it?
Yeah.
That's the reality, and it's fucked up because when they see that in every business forum, they block it after that.
Yeah,
as soon as
they be
see
mad
it
and
happen,
hating.
music is number one.
Yeah.
They used to give niggas music deals because they was like, yeah, rap music is going nowhere. And when it went somewhere, hold up. We gotta control this. Hip hop is no different. Anything in that black genre they did this to. Think of all the clothing lines. Come on, I used to own my own clothing line. It was called Irvin Jeffrey. We was doing over $8 million. The feds came in and stopped everything with the case and everything, but they went right at the clothing line.
Damn.
They didn't want it to exist where we're independently free from everyone. We had our own manufacturers in Taiwan, everything.
Damn.
Cut and sold our own shit. We didn't go through the typical
mock-ups and buying
and
shit.
the way all the other brands did it.
Yeah.
So basically we would have made a lot more money.
Well, Dak, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence, and nobody can hang with my stuff. I'm just a big, hairy American winning machine. If you ain't first, you're last.
What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscriber trying. You see the thumbnail. More importantly, you saw the clip from Chris Gotti. FBAs aren't supposed to be successful. Not in America. Not in the United States of America. We're not supposed to benefit off of capitalism historically. So, slavery was one thing. But, Jim Crow started because right after slavery, we had what we call Reconstruction. So Black Americans building cities, building towns, our own economies, getting representation in Congress. And the progress was like maybe 20, 30 years. I think less than that. But because of the progress, that's what brought on Jim Crow. 100 more years of diet slavery, right? Because blacks are not supposed to be successful in this country. So thus, burning of cities, towns, race riots. That's the reason for the Green Book. People don't know what the Green Book is. It was where you can go if you were black when you're passing through America because of all the sundown towns. And that's where you have the black beaches and yada, 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 black resorts, black everything. You had a bunch of inventors. And the vast majority of them invented stuff but couldn't reap the benefits of it because of racism, because you can't be successful. So one of the only real ones was the lubricator for trains. That's where the phrase "the real McCoy" came from. I think his name was Elijah McCoy. But he patented his invention in a way that they just couldn't get around it. But they got around the vast majority of everybody else. So you can't be successful. You're not supposed to be successful in America. Of course, you got Madam C.J. Walker with the hair. But the issue became you're not supposed to be successful. Greensfield Patterson with the cars, you had to get that out of the way, right? A lot of other inventions over the years. Black man invented the helicopter, cell phone, chip with IBM, video game system, air conditioning. I want to say air conditioning, the elevator, escalator. It's so many inventions. It's crazy. Simple things like peanut butter, but all of these inventions, somebody white took over. Their family and families live off of quote unquote generational wealth because black people aren't supposed to be successful in America. Fast forward to the 80s. Remember the Super Soaker, Lonnie Johnson, right? One of the things that people forget about with the Super Soaker is because he was black and invented it, he knew to have a commercials full of white kids, because if they figured out he was black and he made it, they would kill it. It wouldn't be successful. So that's why if you look at the Super Soaker commercials, it's always Super Soaker, Nerf, and all that. It's a bunch of white kids because it's they can have fun. So it's that thing. I forgot the brother that invented a machine gun in the early 1900s. That was more efficient than the machine gun that we already had in the military. Is a brother and a sister that did stuff with the military as far as naval ships. You don't hear about a lot of inventions, even with the post office. A lot of inventions you don't really hear about. And going to like what Chris Gotti was talking about, you can go back to the exploitation era when they said, those exploitation movies, Shaft, Blackula, the Mac, and all that, Dolomite, that saved MGM, right? Paramount. That saved the movie industry. And then years later, when I was a kid, that's what Martin, the Parenthood, the Wayans brothers, and Living Color, like Fox and WB, it's just CW now. That was their thing. They get black shows, Malcolm and Eddie. They real cheap, and they play it to the left, and the shows become mega successful, and it build up the network, and then they get rid of all the black people. That was the thing, it's Chris, is Irv's brother, Irv Gotti, who died. That was the thing with hip hop. The backstory part of hip hop was the Motown Stax record era, 60s, 70s. The black community had a lot of success in music because, people were into arts like that. People was into music like that, playing instruments, singing, yada, yada, yada. So you had a lot of successful people. The backstory behind that was they got rid of a lot of the music programs in all the schools, just like they got rid of all of the crafts, trades. You can learn to be an electrician, plumber, a carpenter, mechanic. You can do all that in school, electrician, all that in school, and they got rid of it because too many people were coming out, out of high school with too many good skills. So people forget that part. But the birth of hip hop came out of that, getting rid of all the music programs. So that's where all the sampling and beatbox and all that comes from, in a sense. So that's why hip hop artists make more money. They made more money because it was the cheapest form of music to make. And most hip hop artists are just, you got a writer and a writer. You ain't got to really split the money with all these different people playing instruments. And that made too much money. They were screwing people out in the beginning with these contracts, of course, but they were thinking, oh, it can't be that successful because rap was supposed to be a fad. So, mathematically impossible for everybody to make it. But by the 90s and 2000s, too many black artists made it. Too many. The reason you have a Super Bowl show the way it is, in Living Color did a 30-minute show during the Super Bowl. I think right after that, that's when they brought Michael Jackson. Like, we're not letting another show take over the Super Bowl ever again. So that's why you get the halftime show. But take that into consideration, what he's talking about. All of these little things that have been going on all of these years. You remember when Robert Smith paid for all the brothers' college debt at their graduation? They hit him with with a tax case. Now he owes taxes just out of the blue because you're not supposed. Black people, there was too many black people who were out of debt and college educated just like that. That's that hate because you're not supposed to be black as FBA is successful in America. That's what that is. A lot of y'all don't put two and two together, but when it comes to other uh, business ideas, when I was talking about Lonnie Johnson, going back to slavery, that's really the underlying, what do you call that? The underlying precedence for companies. If you invent something, if you work for a company and you invent something in that company's building, the company owns it. See, that's really directed from slavery, because in slavery, if a slave created something, the slave, quote unquote, owner owns it. So that's where you get that from. So in essence, what you got, so people started inventing things outside of work and create things outside of work. And because they were creating things outside of work, you got targeted. And you see that in all groups. White people had the same issue. They create something, they make something, and now they feel the weight of the world coming down on them because, you're not supposed to make money outside of, the box. And what he was talking about with entertainment in the movie, black people were making things from, entertainment, sports. Same thing with Michael Jordan. They weren't intending for they didn't think the Air Jordan would actually be as successful as it was. You know what I'm saying? Because the NBA, they didn't think that was going to be successful, because at the time they were like, America doesn't want to see black people. They're not going to pay to see black people play sports, play basketball, and America's not going to pay for a sneaker with by a black person. That's the underlying message. A lot of y'all don't remember the day when, the Air Jordans had to be a certain color, because if it had too much black in it, the NBA wouldn't allow it. That's a true story. If there was too much black in the shoe. So you fast forward from then, from the beginning to now, black people are always making stuff on the low, and it bubbles up and blows up. And the problem with that is it's always outside of the American system. And as he said, when people realize that it's successful and it's made a lot of money, they try to cut it off. We got to cut it off, because if we don't cut it off, you're gonna have too many people successful who do this. And that's why you see these conglomerates try to either buy people out or crush them. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, in essence, we weren't supposed to be successful in this country. And every time something happens and we're more and more successful, either somebody else is going to steal it and take credit for it and take the money from it. Same thing. That's what all the land theft was. When people talk about, black people don't have this much wealth. That's what my family had, that were owning a farm, and they tried to kill my great grandmother when my great grandfather died. And they took the land, the oil rig, everything. So, and I was a lot, and I chilled out with my great grandmother. Like, she had to live in the projects. That was the black part of New Orleans. So they did, because they wouldn't come in there and try to kill her. So, and that was the 80s. That was in the 80s. So a lot of this stuff, people play this game where, this is a capitalist country and yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. It's a scam. Black Americans, FBAs are not supposed to be successful in capitalism. See, that's where the buck stops here. That's why everybody else can be successful. That's why, ironically, we had all these black people eat fried chicken. You don't see a black owned fried chicken thing, do you? But you know where it came from. You know who created potato chips, but you know where it came from. I'm just doing small things. Peanut butter, you know where it came from. You don't see a black family benefiting off of the cell phone. You don't see a black family benefiting off of the video game system. You don't see a black family benefiting off of the off of the helicopter, or blood banks, or the medical tools that are needed to save lives that were invented by black people. You don't see that. You don't see a black family benefiting off of the security system, the home security system. You don't see it. It's for a reason, because we're not supposed to be successful in America. But that's my 2 cents. Tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.